that unicorns may be betrayed with trees, and bears with glasses, elephants with holes, lions with toils, and men with flatteries. Let me work, for I can give his humor the true bent, and I will bring him to the capital. Recommender systems as traps is not the only computer science paper I have read that has a Shakespeare quote in it, but it is one of the only ones. It's always a good sign that these when a computer person demonstrates they may be interested in the humanities. Uh, anyway, this paper, recommender systems as traps, uh, was influential to me when I read it a few years ago, and I will be quoting it throughout this video. Um, the Shakespeare quote, of course, is Brutus talking about how he will lure Caesar to the scene of his murder. Sort of serves as an epigraph to my video here because it relates humans to animals and how they may succumb to a trap. Of course, the paper is using it to the same effect. Um, I'm sure many of you are aware that billions of dollars to employ psychologists and software engineers and business people are put into essentially recommending you stuff, recommending you content. I'm sure many of you are aware of that. That's a big part of the tech industry as it exists today. Um, it's all about giving you content that will captivate you. And I like that word in this context. Captivate has a interesting etymology to keep in mind. I think many of you have probably heard things because I've seen this kind of phrase said many times. Things like, if something is free, it is likely the case that you are the product. This sort of cultural awareness that a lot of technology is harvesting our information and selling advertising space is becoming more and more mainstream. Um, I think most people today are aware that that is the economic reality behind many of the software projects that they use. Um, anyway, for those who don't know the tech jargon here, recommender system is recommender systems are the algorithms behind what content gets put in front of you. So that could be music on a radio station, a video on YouTube, an image on Instagram, some text on Twitter, really anything as you're scrolling and things pop up in front of you to recommending that you click on it essentially. Or even or if it just gets played automatically in the case of Spotify or TikTok where you just plays. You don't really choose it. It just sort of happens to you. Recommender systems are the algorithms behind these things. And, they are typically machine learning algorithms, so they are in the branch of artificial intelligence. I think most people are aware that machine learning algorithms like this are fed massive amounts of user data. So most people are aware that these companies are harvesting their data and in some cases violating what they may think of as their privacy, essentially to optimize these recommendations, right? Most people are aware of that, I think, even if they, aren't familiar with the terminology and maybe they haven't thought about it that much. I do think this is common knowledge at this point. Okay, let me read a quote from the paper. Drawing on the anthropology of animal trapping, I place recommender systems in unusual company, not among artificial intelligences and machine learners, but hidden spears and thorn-ribbed baskets. I really like this analogy, and I think thinking about the software we use in this way may change how you choose to spend your time on the internet and on your phone and on your computer. there's a book by Nir Eyal, I think that maybe is how you pronounce it, called Hooked: How to Build Habit-Forming Products. So this is read by a lot of business people, as you can imagine, but I'm sure some software developers are reading it as well. To quote the paper, successful companies like Facebook have become successful. The author of Hooked writes, Nir Eyal, he writes, by becoming first to mind, their users feel a pang of loneliness, and before rational thought occurs, they are scrolling through their Facebook feeds. Achieving this goal requires thinking of users not as customers choosing among various commodities, but as instinctual minds susceptible to subtle outside influences. Eyal writes, companies must learn not only what compels users to click, but what makes them tick. The book's cover depicts a cursor clicking on a human brain. I feel like the software industry in general, we see more and more behaviorist thinking, coming from the branch of psychology, of course, behaviorism. We see behaviorist lingo more and more. No, by the way, I am a software developer. I studied computer science, so I am very much someone who keeps tabs on what is going on in the industry, and of course, I talk to many people in the industry. I have peers and colleagues in the industry. So I'm very much immersed in a lot of this stuff. Okay, let's go back to the paper. So, we have B.J. Fogg's Persuasive Technology Lab at Stanford. Was founded in 1998 to develop the field he called captology, a name derived from the acronym for Computers as Persuasive Technologies. Captology. The lab's mission, according to its website, is to create insight into how the field of computing products, from websites to mobile phone software, can be designed to change people's beliefs and behaviors. Among the lab's alumni are a co-founder of the photo sharing service Instagram and Nir Eyal himself, the author of Hooked, that book I was mentioning earlier. This doesn't seem like a conspiracy at this point. We are being hunted. The hunter does not wield a weapon, but rather waits for us to imprison ourselves in their traps. An anthropologist defines a trap, according to the paper, an invention for the purpose of inducing animals to commit incarceration, self-arrest, or suicide. And expanding on that, the trap itself is an invention in which are embodied most careful studies in animal mentation and habits. The hunter must know for each species its food, its likes, its dislikes, its weaknesses, its foibles. A trap in this connection is an ambuscade, a deceit, a temptation, an irresistible allurement. It is strategy. Put another way, traps are not coercive, but persuasive technologies, devices designed to alter the behavior of their prey in order to catch them. I feel like we do see many software developers justifying what they are doing from an ethical perspective by drawing that distinction between persuasion and coercion. I think we all should think more deeply about that distinction and ask ourselves, is that a proper justification or not? Software developers who build traps, they often would say that coercion is unethical, right? The use of force would be unethical. But there's nothing wrong with a user voluntarily choosing to use their product. And user satisfaction is another one of these moral justifiers where you know business people and software developers may justify themselves by saying, well, we're improving user satisfaction. They have metrics of these sorts. How can something be unethical if it improves user satisfaction? How can something be unethical if the users want it? Well, I think we should all think about that. I do think that if you are a software developer, you should really examine your own biases in this situation. Of course, you would probably admit that it is unethical for tobacco companies to dump addictive chemicals in their products. So, why won't you admit that engineering your products to be addictive is really any different? And, perhaps you have a bias in favor of your own field, your own source of income, your own technological interests. To my non-software developer audience, because I think I do have some subscribers who are not software developers, from the, but everyone's a user of software, so from the user's perspective, I offer you these words of hope from the paper. If the animal does not play its scripted role, then the trap does not work. Don't forget to like and subscribe for the algorithm.